Hello and welcome into the WNK channel. I am George Herbig here, Chief Forecaster for Weather Now, Kentucky. We do have a lot to discuss tonight. Might be a lengthy video, so I want to settle on in here. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and I believe on Twitter. We're trying that out tonight, or X, whatever you want to call it. So welcome into all the new faces, as well as the folks that have been loyal to us for so long. We do have 2 alert days out already for Monday and Wednesday, and we're seriously considering adding an alert day for Tuesday as well. There's some inconsistencies about Tuesday, however, for some folks, so we kind of held off for now, but that'll probably be issued later on tonight. So we do have 2 alert days out of the next 3 days, possibly 3 out of 3 on that. So a lot to divulge tonight. We're going to focus first on Monday, and then we'll talk briefly about Tuesday and Wednesday. Wednesday looks to be the most prominent day out of all 3. However, both or all 3 days show different signs of strong to severe weather. So we'll discuss all of that with you here. Be patient with us because I'm figuring out the Twitter side of things. Make sure, of course, as you're coming in, tap the share button at the bottom portion of your screen if you're over there on Facebook. If you're on Twitter, hit that repost button for us. We'd appreciate that. Help us by spreading our information out so people get accurate information on what to expect. I'm still trying to figure out this whole Twitter thing. Again, we're just kind of testing it out for tonight's. The goal is to obviously to spread our platforms out to make sure that we're doing enough to spread the awareness on things. Also forgot to turn my computer up, so let me do that real quickly. Of course, again, let's give it about a minute before we dive into all the information here and let people know on what to expect. Of course, we just want to give them some time to get in here and get settled in, just like you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in here and being so on time. Now, where in the world am I supposed to see these comments and stuff at? Oh, right here? Okay, we'll do that. I think this is it anyway. I suppose we'll find out. Again, we're testing out the Twitter side of things right now. I can't really see the chat on Twitter though. Not letting me view it. Okay, so I have to work on that. So we're just like I said, we're ironing out the details. We're trying to spread our base around here a little bit. Hello, everyone. Hello. Now I can see a lot of your comments on Facebook and YouTube at least. Good evening, good afternoon. Patricia and Joey says on YouTube, hello, hello. Again, we'll give it about 30 more seconds and then we'll dive into the information. If you're just not tuning in here and missed that intro, we do have 2 alert days out for Monday and Wednesday and are probably going to add a 3rd for Tuesday as well. So it'll look like this: Monday alert day, Tuesday alert day, Wednesday alert day. Wednesday looks to be the most prominent day. However, Monday and Tuesday both have their own threats as well that we need to respect. So we'll talk about that information. More specifically, we'll talk about Monday in this video, but we'll briefly glance over what Tuesday and Wednesday might possibly look like as well for you guys. So we got a lot of that information ready for you. We want to show you our forecast for Monday. We're going to show you the Storm Prediction Center's forecast for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And we're also going to look at actual raw model data as well, kind of give you a better idea of what to expect for actually looking at the data itself. So of course, say hello as you're coming in. If you're on Twitter, I can't see your comments right now for some reason. I'm not really sure why. We'll work on that. This is our first Twitter broadcast. We're kind of testing it out before the alert days come in. So we're kind of testing that out. So if you're on Twitter and I'm not responding to your comments, don't worry. The feed's still up. I just can't see your comments right now for some reason. But we'll work on that, I promise you. And we'll get that ironed out. So thank you to everyone that's tuning in on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. You caught it even before the Weather Channel put it up. Yeah, they're just too delayed. So we had our first alert for this system, for this complex system, back on, I believe, Friday. But we saw it beforehand before that, but we wanted to hold off a little bit just to make sure that we knew what we were talking about. Also, if you see all the stuff in the background of my camera, it's not usually there. We're kind of in a temporary spot right now. Actually, a lot of the stuff that you're seeing is for the studio that's going to be made later on starting tomorrow. Well, he actually has already started on it, but you know, it's a weekend, so got to come back next week. But hopefully by Wednesday we'll be in that studio room and you can have a better viewing experience. So don't mind the mess behind me. It's all temporary. The studio's being worked on as we speak here. All right, let's go into the information here. First, let's start with our forecast for Monday. Not much has changed on this. If you saw it on our Facebook or our Twitter, let me go ahead and get this pulled up here for you guys. Not much has changed on it at all here. Start with this one here. I'll pull this down here. There we go. Boom. Make sure you guys can see it okay. All right, you can. Perfect. So this is our forecast for Monday. Again, we don't have a forecast ready for Tuesday or Wednesday just yet, ironing out more details on that, but we'll briefly touch base on this, and we'll show you all kinds of different stuff that's going on here. So not much has changed on this. If anything, we could probably expand the red zone or orange zone, whatever y'all's eyes are seeing. That zone right there in the middle, 65% zone. We could probably make it a little bit wider. We went really narrow on the first call just to be a little bit more careful. Now for Monday, the severe risk is a little bit different than the other 2 days. On Monday, the severe risk is primarily damaging winds and moderate to perhaps large hail. The hail size won't really be figured out until a few hours before the event starts. We need to see how much storm instability is available at each layer of the atmosphere, whatnot. However, the main threat on Monday's system from 4 to 10 p.m. Eastern time is going to be isolated strong storms that look to be featuring hail and winds. I don't see a real tornadic threat. However, we have to put a tornado chance in there just because there is quite a bit of what we call surface cape, but it's really lacking on the other metrics for tornadic activity. So if I had to put a tornado percentage on Monday, it would probably be about 1 to 2%. I mean, it's extremely low. However, we saw that a tornado can occur with even the most meager amount of juice, because we had that occur a couple days ago in Kentucky where everyone's just kind of going throughout the day, and then casually an EF1 tornado hits up toward Mason County in Dry Ridge, Kentucky, and it kind of came out of nowhere, caught a lot of folks off guard. So the main threats for Monday going to definitely be hail, as well as perhaps some isolated spots of damaging winds. However, this line, and I'll show you the model data as well, the line for the storms themselves is going to be super thin. And not only that, the line itself is going to train over the same area. Basically, it's going to keep going over the same area over and over and over again. So that's why we have a very narrow strip right there, and then kind of a little bit of a wider 45% zone, and then a 15% zone. Basically, what the percentages are showing is basically where we feel like the best pockets of severe weather or strong weather might show up, or the probability of severe weather technically there. So I'm going to show you the raw model data for Monday, and then we'll talk about Tuesday and Wednesday, and we'll also look at the SPC's forecast that we have available here as well. Overall, pretty warm day out today. A lot of folks got into the low to mid 80s in a lot of places in Kentucky. I'm pretty sure everyone in Kentucky got up to at least 80 degrees. Some folks got a lot higher than that, and I'll tell you that tomorrow, before the actual storm system starts tomorrow, it's going to get quite warm out there. Let's go ahead and push this all the way to Monday. So you can see out the door on Monday, this is actually valid for 7 a.m. Central Time. Already looking at the low to mid 60s in a lot of places in Kentucky. That's going to tell you right there it might be a warm day throughout the Commonwealth. Let's go to lunchtime here. Lunchtime, we're looking at a period or a pocket of mid to upper 70s for most folks. A little bit cooler out for northeastern Kentucky. A little bit warmer as always for southwestern Kentucky. Pushing up toward the upper 70s at that point. Going to the afternoon where the peak heating really comes in, you could just, I mean, it's even showing a pocket of almost 90 degrees toward Evansville, Indiana. I don't know if it'll get quite that warm. That just kind of tells you the kind of warmth and moist air that we're looking at here, guys. It's going to be extremely warm. I mean, these are temperatures that we usually see toward the end of May. To put it in a little bit of perspective for you, we don't usually see these sort of temperatures for April. Yeah, of course, you get them every once in a while and some anomalous years, but typically on average, we don't see these temperatures until, let's say, late May toward Memorial Day going into June. That's when you start to see these temperatures. However, so these are kind of a little bit abnormal. I do think the 89 might be a little bit overdone here, but mid 80s are definitely more than possible Monday afternoon before the first wave of the storm system arrives. And as that storm system arrives here, you can kind of see the temperatures just really drop off. And you can also kind of just tell, even by looking at the temperature chart here, where that storm line is. You can see E-Town at 64 degrees. It's dropped, right? You can see that storm line or temperature down there in Somerset at 66 degrees, while to the southwest it's still 72 and 74 in Paducah. So you can kind of see right there already where the line of the storms is going to be. Let's go ahead and pull up the reflectivity for you. Now, again, if you're just now tuning in here, we are talking about 3 potential alert days coming up: Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Right now, we're on Monday, so we still have Tuesday and Wednesday to talk about here. So, as I push this forward here, Monday morning, Monday afternoon, looks beautiful outside. Nothing really, I mean, actually, go over and pull up the cloud map for you guys. Really not even a cloud in sight again. I mean, it was no clouds today, no clouds tomorrow morning, a few clouds tomorrow afternoon going around lunchtime, but still mostly sunny. And then you can see just a wave of clouds beginning to push in after that. So again, let's go ahead and pull up the reflectivity here and kind of show you what it looks like and then we'll break it down. So again, we're going toward let's say the afternoon or evening rush hour here is when storms really begin to pop off. You can see it starts along the Ohio River. They don't look like anything, messy. However, it goes from absolutely nothing to being a nice little hail core involved with almost all three of those, especially the one more notable toward Louisville. Now, again, this is not going to be 100% accurate on placement, but this kind of gives you a general idea of where the cells might pop up here. And then they kind of just train themselves. You'll see the storm line kind of tilts and turns northeast here. And that's because the low pressure that's associated with this, or the short wave that's associated with this, is actually lifting north. So it's actually going to turn the storm line north, which causes them to stall out, and that's why we're talking about potential for maybe even some flash flooding in some places, because these storms will sit and they'll train over the same places. And on top of that, the storm motion itself is not going to be extremely fast. So as we push us forward, this is actually valid for 9 p.m. Eastern time. You can see a nice line of storms getting going along the Ohio River and starting to stretch out more to the southeast towards Somerset now, and then it will fill in the gaps here over the next couple of hours. And you can see all these little purples showing up with this, indicating some sort of hail core. And we know it might be a pretty sizable hail core as well, but we pull up our Cape maps here. So I'm going to show you this. I'm going to pull it out to the regional view here. So storms basically going to be going from 4 to 10 p.m. Eastern time. And what I want to show you here now is the word that everyone loves to look at. It's called Cape. It's basically the measurement of instability for storms. Sorry about the nose itching, guys. My nose, the allergies are out and about today. The allergies are out and about today. By the way, if you're on Twitter, I see that there is a lot of viewership on Twitter, by the way. Thank you so much. This is our first broadcast on Twitter, so I'm not quite sure how to see the comment section just yet, but we are live on both Facebook and YouTube as well. If you want to leave a comment or ask a question, you can go over to one of those sites and join us there. So as we go through and push us forward to the time of the storm frame here, or the time frame of the storms here, we can see that surface Cape is actually soaring well over 2,500. And I can tell you that on other models, the Rapid Refresh, the NAM model, and even the European model, which is a long-range model, all three of those models actually have substantially higher amounts of Cape than the HRRR model. So this is actually one of the lowest outputs from basically the four models that we're looking at right now. These thunderstorms will not only produce some moderate to perhaps even large hail tomorrow evening for pockets of Kentucky. However, they will also be loud because of the amount of surface Cape that we're seeing, the strength of the dew points, the strength of the convection overall. There's going to be a lot of lightning involved with Monday night storm, and it's going to get quite loud. Some of these storms might even look a lot worse or sound a lot worse than what they actually are. Thankfully, with Mondays, now again, we have Tuesday and Wednesday to still talk about as well. But thankfully for at least Monday's system, we're talking about not a whole lot of energy at the ground. Talking about helicity and shear. So when we're lacking those things, we're really looking at more elevated storms, which keeps the tornado odds extremely low. Now, it still can be possible, but it's extremely low. So overall, again, 4 to 10 p.m. Eastern time on Monday night for Wave 1. Main concern is going to be moderate hail and perhaps isolated pockets of damaging winds. And of course, as we pulled in our forecast right here, you can see the main focus of the line is basically from the Ohio River, stretching just to a northeast slant, or I'm sorry, to a southeast slant there. And then we added a couple of margins outside of that to cover some bases there. But as you kind of saw for yourself, the storms will begin across the Ohio River and then expand out to the southeast and kind of just stay in that line the entire time, and then they'll just fade away. And then it opens the door for Wave 2 on Tuesday. But before we get to that, I want to look at the forecast for the Storm Prediction Center on Monday. Now, they are going with just a thunderstorm risk. There's no marginal, slight, enhanced, or anything like that on Monday. Now, I want to point out to you that the Storm Prediction Center, while they are phenomenal at what they do, they completely miss, just like the rest of us, that tornado that occurred a couple of days ago in Kentucky, where they had literally no risk at all in the state. So while we look at these and we use them as one of our tools, we don't put them at the top. So I just want to show you, I just want to explain to you that I do expect this to be upgraded at some point. I'm not sure why there's not already a marginal risk over here for the hail threat. Maybe they're seeing something we're not, but at this point, it's not 100% on their forecast. I do expect that at some point there will at least be a marginal risk toward Kentucky and the Ohio River, and almost matching this forecast here that we made earlier today. I think actually we made it last night. But I do expect there to be at least a level 1 out of risk, if not a level 2 out of 5 risk at some point throughout the next. I think they updated here soon, so we'll take a look at that whenever it comes out here. So let's go back out of that. And of course, we have a lot more to talk about. Before we get to that, we got to pay the bills, guys. If you wouldn't mind listening to these messages from our partners, it only takes 90 seconds, and you might stick around and hear something that you hear. Stick around. We have Tuesday and Wednesday to talk about here. 90 seconds. We'll be right back. Make Right Implement your go-to spot this spring and summer for all of your equipment needs. With over 15 locations throughout Kentuckiana, they have so many destinations for you to choose from. They have great customer service, a super knowledgeable staff, and high-quality products that are also affordable. Oh, and they're always running deals like these here. Thank you so much, Right Implement, for being a supporter of the Weather Now Kentucky channel. Digital Solutions out of Radcliffe, Kentucky wants to give back to the W&K community. Take 10% off with code W&K on any sale or repair. That's right, they do both. Thank you so much, Kayla and your team, for supporting the Weather Now Kentucky channel.
Yeah, I'm Steve with Greyhawk Roofing. Some things that make us different about Greyhawk Roofing. Number one, we're family owned and operated. We don't treat it as a transactional relationship. We treat it more like a long-term relationship. Quality is big for us. We have a quality control representative on every job site, and that's actually my dad. Not only do residential, but we also take care of commercial roofing as well. Check us out on Google, check us out on Facebook, check out our website. We've got a lot of our work on there. You can take a look at our portfolio. Do free estimates, free inspections, so we don't charge anything for that. We'd love to work with you. We'd love to add you to the Greyhawk family. So just give us a shout, 606-547-7519. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our partners. We appreciate them. They allow us to do what we do. So hopefully you got to hear something that you may be interested in there. But on your screen now, let's get back to the weather forecasting here for you guys is next up. So we talked about Monday. If you missed that information, just out tuning in here, it's already on our pages on Twitter and Facebook. And also this video will be on our Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube once we get done here as well. So you can go back through and recap on Monday if you missed it. But now we're going ahead and going to Tuesday, April 16th. And this one's been kind of a tough forecast for us here because the National Weather Service's Storm Prediction Center has highlighted far western Kentucky in a 2 out of 5 risk. Now, the reason this has been tough for us is because on every model run that we've looked at, we've been watching this like a hawk for at least 3 days now, but we've taken it more seriously over the last 36 hours. And what we've watched here is not giving us a high amount of confidence on Tuesday, at least for Western Kentucky. Now, if you're talking about Illinois and places up there to the northwest of us, obviously I think that's probably the biggest day of the system for them. But for us here in Western Kentucky and in Central Kentucky and throughout all of Kentucky, really, Tuesday is kind of that 50-50 day. So we talked about how Wednesday was going to be the most prominent day. We talked about how Monday had a nice, at least moderate hail threat. Tuesday could be a little bit of both, and it could also be absolutely nothing at all. And I'm going to show you that right here, right now. The reason we say that is because on the model data, it's not really picking it up on the CAMS models, so the short-range models. It's not really seeing any real threat for us here in Kentucky. But what I want to do is actually go to the NAM 3K model this time, because it kind of see a little bit out further here. I don't think the NAM 3K model is handling this system very well, but at the least, it is kind of the only short-range model that can see it. So we're going to go ahead and pull this up and push this on forward here. And you can see, it can only see to about 2 a.m. Eastern time on Wednesday morning. So that risk on Tuesday, this one right here that the National Weather Service put out, is for this time frame right here. Basically from late Tuesday night, 9 to 10 p.m. going into Wednesday morning. Now, when we click on this sounding and we kind of go ahead and look at some of the energy here. Now, I know you're not going to know what a lot of this means, but I'll kind of break it down for you. So over here in our bottom left is where we look at different energy parameters for storms. And just real quickly, just off a note for you, it says surface CAPE is only about 30. It says that the shear is about 36, which is good. Well, which is not good. Let me rephrase that, which is enough for storms to be able to root and survive. But when we look at the energy helicity index, there's nothing there. Usually we want to see this number over 2. Usually on that surface CAPE, you want to see that over about 500 at the least. For mid-level CAPE, you want to see that at least over 500 as well. Lapse rates down here where you see this little bitty font in the bottom left here, you really want to see this number over 6.5 not really there as well. We also see numerous dry spots throughout the layers of the atmosphere here. Not a whole lot there either. So while the National Weather Service has left a 2 out of 5 risk here in western Kentucky, we over here at WNK are just not seeing a whole lot on Tuesday night. Now, that does not mean it can't trend up. It does not mean that it can not change. You know, I absolutely expect this to change as this event actually starts. So this low pressure that is carrying the systems, it actually just made landfall a couple of hours ago, I believe. So it should be getting tested and sampled here soon. When that happens, the 0Z data, so this nighttime data, should be a lot more accurate. I don't expect a whole lot of changes to Monday and Wednesday, but Tuesday can change. And I believe that the National Weather Service's Storm Prediction Center left that 2 out of 5 risk in western Kentucky, mainly for the chance that this line is a little bit of an overperformer. Because when I pull it back to the western Kentucky and Missouri border, well, there is a little something here now. Now, again, we still see numerous dry spots throughout the line, and then we have a big moist spot here. It's just messy. So let me just put it like that. The Tuesday night to Wednesday morning, that wave number 2, if you want to call it, that one is just messy. That's the best. I know it's some weak analysis, but that's the best analysis, really. It really is just messy. I don't know what to make of this line yet. I'm hoping that with the late night data tonight and maybe even the morning data tomorrow, we'll get a better idea on that. So make sure you check back on our Twitter or on our Facebook or even on YouTube. I'm sure we'll do another live broadcast tomorrow night, especially when we're live casting the event. Check back in for updates on Tuesday, because at this time, it just looks messy. It just looks messy. Overall, I'm not sure what to expect on Tuesday at this current moment. So we're just going to keep doing some play-by-play updates on that, play it by ear. We'll keep you posted on that. Now, Wednesday, there's a lot more confidence in Wednesday, at least on our side. And now for the National Weather Service, who has a 15% risk to 30% risk of severe weather in pretty much all of central and western Kentucky, basically from Lexington to Paducah. I do think this is probably a little bit too far west. I think this is actually more focused on central Kentucky than it is western Kentucky. However, I'm not going to pull hairs over a day 4 forecast. There's no point in it. At this point, we just kind of look and trend it. So the reason we think that Wednesday is a primary day for us here in Kentucky is because that is when we get the most amount of energy and the best timing of the storms. So the time on Wednesday has been extremely consistent, and I'm going to pull it up for you now. So I'm going to go over here to probably, let's use the GFS model for just simplest terms here. We could use the NAM model, but I don't think the NAM model is handling it very well just yet. Usually the NAM model doesn't handle anything very well until it gets inside of 70 hours. It's just kind of a rule of thumb there. So on Wednesday, what we're talking about here, I'm going to pull this out to the national view here, and then we're going to zoom into the regional and local view so that you can see a little bit better. On Wednesday, what we're dealing with is actually a dying low pressure. So it's going to be a low pressure that's coming off of the west coast right now. And it's going to undergo cyclogenesis, which is basically just a strengthening of the low pressure. And then it's going to attach itself to moisture down here in the Mexican area, down to the Gulf of Mexico. It's going to pull all that up here, just in real layman's terms, and create a pretty chaotic atmosphere. So there's Tuesday, and then Wednesday, it actually rides all the way up toward very, very far northern portions of the United States. And it stays alive just long enough to give us a strong to severe threat, and then it just dies down. What I make of this is, actually, let's just go ahead and zoom into the regional view here. So there's a lot of concern that when you have a weakening low pressure, right, and it's exiting to the north, right, there's a lot of concern on if storms can be able to reach far enough south toward Kentucky for that low pressure that's all the way to our north, going toward northern Illinois, and all the way up to the Great Lakes. Can storms reach all the way that far south into Kentucky? Because typically what you want to be, if you're looking for severe weather, and let's just very simple terms here, if you're looking for severe weather, you basically want to be within 200 to 250 miles of that low pressure and on the right side of it or the southeastern side of it. So if we do the math on this, I'm not going to do it all right now, but we are farther than 250 miles away from that low pressure. So how are we going to get storms to ripple off here into Kentucky? The reason for that is there are going to be multiple short waves that come through, basically southern Indiana and Kentucky. At this time, we have a pretty good idea of where it might be, but with short waves, they can look a lot different now than, let's say, 2 days from now when we get closer to the event. So while confidence is I would say medium, in an event to occur on Wednesday, the location of that event might change as we head a little bit closer. So I want to make that very, very, very clear. So let's go ahead and pull this up here on reflectivity and kind of just show you what we're looking at here. So this is valid for Wednesday, late morning, or I'm sorry, yeah, around 7 to 8 a.m. Then we get closer to, actually, back us up just a little bit, get a little bit ahead of myself. So here's that Tuesday night into Wednesday system that pushes through. And you would think, George, with all that convection, with all that rain that's happening late on Tuesday, going into Wednesday, lasting into Wednesday morning, how do we get enough time for our atmosphere to destabilize, right? How do we get enough time for our atmosphere to become unstable for it to support strong to severe storms? The reason for that is a real prominent line of dry air that's going to be pushing in all the way from Mexico. So I'm going to pull this up here for you and just kind of show you if I can figure out what I'm doing. For some reason, my brain is completely like farting out. So I'm just going to show you here real quickly. And now it's trending a little bit more weaker on the GFS model, but it's trending absolutely way stronger on the NAM model. So here's that first wave. It's a lot more moist. You can see a lot more moist air with it, a lot more water with it. Now this is 700 millibars, so this is several thousand feet above our head. Now this is important because the dry air at this layer is the only thing that we were missing last week whenever we had the, I believe it was 19 or 20 confirmed tornadoes in Kentucky. And I kept telling you guys, I know you're not going to believe this, but it could have been worse. And the reason it could have been worse is because we didn't have dry air several thousand feet above our head. When we do have that occur, it actually forces a lot of the moisture down and allows it to be a lot more surface based, which allows those supercells to root to the ground. We didn't really have supercells root to the ground throughout last week's system. We still managed to get 19 to 20 tornadoes out of this. Now, that does not mean that because we have dry air at the 700 millibar layer, that we're going to have more tornadoes or more significant tornadoes on Wednesday. It just tells us that we're now not missing something that we were missing just a week ago. So that dry air is pushed again, and then you can see right behind it is a rich pocket of moisture. So when we see that dry air come in, it actually helps to dry up the environment, increase that surface instability, increase dew points at the surface, and increase wind shear and surface, basically overall the surface instability and kinematics for storms. I know it's a lot of mumbo jumbo, but basically what this means is that dry air is going to help to recover that environment and allow it to be unstable for strong to severe storms. Basically what all that mumbo jumbo means. So let's go ahead and pull this back over here. I know this is a lot of information, but when we're talking about 3 potential alert days in a row, I kind of want to give it all to you guys and allow you guys to just kind of form your own hypothesis on what to expect. We're also going to have our forecast, of course, for you to look at as well. But I think it's good for you guys to have all of the information on how we got to our forecast. So this is Wednesday. Let's go ahead and push this on through here. You can see that line kind of starts to push through around 18Z, which is around 3 to 4 o'clock in the afternoon. As it pushes on forward, you can see that line slows down a little bit. This is not going to be a fast-moving storm system, so it also presents a little bit of a concern of itself. So then it gets to about central Kentucky around, let's say, dinner time on Wednesday evening. And then it'll begin to fade out as it heads toward eastern Kentucky, which is why you see now why the risk for strong to severe weather is basically from central to western Kentucky. Now, again, this could shift quite a bit between now and Wednesday, but at this time, that's kind of why you see it that way. So, again, I want to point out to you real quickly, the dew points on Wednesday are going to be magnificently muggy. I just want to point that out to you, so kind of get you prepared. So the dew points on, let's go and back this up, actually show you Monday. Monday, dew points go all the way into the mid-60s. Even some pockets of close to 70 on the dew point, which if you don't know what dew point is, it's basically how you can kind of measure the mugginess in the atmosphere. When you go above 60, it starts to get a little bit sticky outside. You can notice it. It's kind of just, ugh. Get above 65 is when you're starting to get like really sweating when you're just standing outside. Start to get to 70 and above, that's when you start to even just stay inside of your house and even look out the window and you probably start sweating. It's that muggy. So that's kind of what we're dealing with on this Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday system. So Monday, dew points approaching the mid to upper 60s. On Tuesday, dew points get into the low, maybe mid 60s in a few places, not a whole lot. And you see a couple of dry spots in there. And then on Wednesday, Those dew points really recover very well and come all the way back up to even the mid to upper 60s once again. And of course, it's focused over there towards central and western Kentucky, which is once again where you see the severe risk at. So if you didn't know, dew points play a key role in determining how much moisture is available for storms to survive and thrive. So it's a good metric to look at when you're looking at perhaps moisture profiles for storms. So overall, multiple days of severe weather possible, starting Monday going into Wednesday. And I could go on for days about how much instability and stuff is there for Wednesday. I do think Wednesday is perhaps the most vulnerable day for Kentucky. One, it hits the biggest region of Kentucky. Two, it has the best timing, so it'll be coming into the Wednesday afternoon and Wednesday evening time frame. Three, it has the most storm juice available for it, for lack of better terms. It has that feel. That's why we went ahead and put the alert day out, I believe, yesterday for Wednesday, because it's been, and another note, it has been remarkably consistent. Not even on just one model, on the GFS model, on the European model, on the ensembles, now on the North American model, which is kind of a medium range model. It has been remarkably consistent. The timing has been consistent. The energy available has been consistent. The motion of the storm has been consistent, which has allowed us to have a little bit more confidence in a strong system to push in Wednesday. And a lot of you are going to ask me, is this going to be like the event that we saw last week where we saw multiple tornadoes, and it actually was classified as a tornado outbreak. Thankfully, we didn't have very many strong or violent tornadoes. We had a few, but not too many. But it still technically was a tornado outbreak. I think this one on Wednesday could be approaching that. I'm not going to call anything a tornado outbreak, 4 days out. To me, that's just immature and irresponsible. Right? Then you're just throwing out stuff because a lot of things can change. I mean, take Oklahoma for example. Everyone called that a super mega outbreak 3 days ago, and now it's looking like it's more of a Kansas thunderstorm event that might produce some tornadic activity. They only have a 5% risk of tornado activity over there. So that's why we refrain from using any type of terms like super mega outbreak or historic, or we start comparing to past events. I don't like doing that because each event has their own level of respect that they need. But I will say that Wednesday could be the most prominent day out of all three. Monday has a solid hail threat. Tuesday has so many question marks. It could be a severe day for Western Kentucky, far Western Kentucky, but it just has so many question marks. Wednesday, for me, has the highest confidence of all three. It also has the most vulnerability of all three, and I could see all hazards absolutely possible, including a couple of strong tornadoes. Because, again, we have that dry air working in. We have energy at the surface. We don't have a very big cap in place. I know that's a big thing a lot of people ask about. The morning convection, the morning rain showers. Right, I don't think that'll be a massive issue because one, they'll be fading away by just a little bit after sunrise, and two, we're going to have a solid 8 to 10 hour window of dry air working in. Oh, and on top of that, from the RDPS model, which is actually the best model at handling cloud coverage, it has clear skies around lunchtime to the start of the event. So I think Wednesday by far has all those boxes checkmarked that you look for when it comes to strong to severe weather potential. The only question for me on Wednesday is where exactly that short wave that we talked about, where exactly that sets up. Because low pressure will be so far north that if there is no short wave in Kentucky or Indiana, there's going to be a real big problem on if storms can actually get that far south into Kentucky. So at this time, all models do show a shortwave pushing through Wednesday afternoon and evening that allows for a line of storms to spark that will be quickly strong. And then once they get a little bit toward or just past I-65 and go more toward the Lexington and Somerset areas, that's where they begin to really drop off. So we have our forecast out. It's on our pages on Twitter and Facebook for Monday. That hasn't changed. I hope to be able to put a forecast out for Tuesday, either by late tonight or tomorrow morning. And for Wednesday, I hope to be able to put our first forecast out tomorrow night. Now, we don't like to put forecast out beyond 3 days, but we'll look at things and we'll make sure we get it right for you guys. I'll get some of your questions at this point now. By the way, thank you to everyone on Twitter for our first broadcast on Twitter. You guys are showing out really well. Thank you for all the new followers on Twitter for Kentucky weather. Thank you to everyone that's showing out on YouTube and on Facebook as well. I'm sorry, Twitter, that I can't see your comments. If you do have a question that you want to ask, we are live on both Facebook and YouTube right now as well. Hop into one of those chats and submit it there. I'll make sure that we can be able to view comments next time we go live on Twitter. Again, it's our first time. We were testing it out, but next time I'll make sure we get it all set up correctly. Steven, thank you for the 500 stars, my friend. I appreciate that. Hope you're doing good. I hope the baby's doing good too. Thank you, my man. Lisa sent 10 stars on Facebook. Thank you so much. Kristen with 50 stars as well. Thank you guys for your all star donations on Facebook. It's going to be a long 72 hours. We're buckled up. We're ready to go for you guys. Linda on Facebook says she's over all the stormy weather. I'm ready for the frost days. We do have a big cool down. So this system is going to actually bring in a lot of cool air right behind it as it exits on Friday-ish. And it'll slowly start to cool down, and then by Monday of next week, you'll start to feel a real big cool down. I don't know just yet how cold we're talking, but I know we're talking about at least a possibility of a couple of days of freezing nights. So that kind of shows you the strength of this event too. Open up the door for cold air to take advantage, and cold air might just take advantage and cause some planners and farmers to be really upset. Yes, Gail, that's correct. April is. I think it's too early to tell at this moment on making plans for shelters and stuff for Wednesday's system. I think we need to get to maybe tomorrow night, maybe even Tuesday morning before we start making plans about leaving. Is it looking like a rainy, stormy summer? Might be too soon to tell. Oh yeah, it's way too soon. But I can tell you that basically, on average in Kentucky, usually once we get past that first to second week of June, we start heading more into summer. It's typically pretty dry around here. That's when we start getting our drought concerns. That's when we start getting those really high temperatures. That's when a lot of blocking patterns set up, a lot of high pressures set up, so that's why we get really muggy as well. So usually it's not very rainy or stormy. Now, last summer, it was extremely stormy around Independence Day and then well into middle July, but that was pretty anomalous. Riley, right now, I would say the tornado probably... I would say the tornado odds probably look like this. On Monday, maybe 1 to 2%. On Tuesday, maybe 1 to 2%. Tuesday is so up in the air. It's going to take a little bit more time on that. Wednesday, at this current time, I would put it at about 5%, but I could absolutely see that going up as we head a little bit closer to the event if models stay consistent on what to expect. Now, they have been remarkably, almost a little bit weirdly consistent with Wednesday's system over the last few days. Usually we get almost no model consistency on the long range side, but it's been remarkably consistent over the last couple of days. So on Wednesday, I think is the highest odds for all hazards, but we'll just keep an eye on it for you guys. Regina, I appreciate that so much. She says, I just wanted to say I recommend you to everyone close to me and in the area. You've taught me so much and are always on point. Thank you so much. Regina, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for all of your kind words there. I usually try to find that line of educating but not boring you guys, because I think it's important for you guys to not only get our forecast, but to understand how we got to our forecast. Because if you can understand how we got to our forecast, you can understand a lot more about the weather world. I hate when people just shove a forecast down someone's throat and don't explain to them how they got there, and then they're just left with a bunch of questions, right? Now, some people like that. Some people like for you to just give them the forecast, shut up, and get out. Some people are like that, but I can't. I have to be able to explain at least a little bit of how we got there, or else how do you know if we're just making stuff up? You know what I mean? Linda, I appreciate that. So I've kept you guys for enough time now. We've been live for how long? 40 minutes. Wow, I went 10 minutes over. I usually try to keep these under 30 minutes. But hey, I appreciate you guys on Twitter. I am sorry once again that we didn't get the live chat working, at least on my side, so I couldn't see your comments. I'm sorry about that. If you do have a question for us, you can always come to our Facebook page and DM us, or on Twitter, you can DM us as well, or just reply to one of our posts. We'll take care of you that way. So sorry about that again. I'll make sure we have that working for next time. Again, so sorry about that. Facebook and YouTube, guys, you all rock. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me. Don't be scared. Just be prepared, guys. I know it's cliche and it's real corny to say, but it really is the truth. It is so rare that we get an extremely violent day around here. So I wouldn't freak out about anything, even though Wednesday does look extremely strong. I wouldn't freak out. Just make sure you're prepared. Have those fresh batteries in your weather radios. fresh batteries in your flashlights. Make sure you're going over your safety plans with members of your household or wherever you might be. Make sure you have a way to get alerts, notifications, multiple ways to do that as well. We'll take care of you. Our slogan is relax, WNK has your back, and we do every single time. We're live for every event, before, during, and after. So anyway, that's it from us here at WNK. I appreciate you all hanging out with me tonight. If you have any more questions, just send them to us. We'll try to get back to them. You got to remember, there's over 80,000 followers across all platforms, so it's a lot to try to get to sometimes. So if we don't get to it, I'm sorry. Also, look for an update here in a couple of hours on the next 3 storm systems. I'm going to try to post about it, and again, another update tomorrow. Probably another live broadcast tomorrow night for the first wave. Anyway, I'm George Herbig, Chief Forecaster here with you with WNK. Until next time, stay safe, Kentucky.